Prayer is a learning. It's like a spiritual skill. We all have a spirit. We can all pray, but it has to be developed. It has to be learned. It has to be practiced. It should change over time. Now, the first and basic meaning of prayer is to absorb God. This is not a natural concept. I would say even in our corporate prayer, we need to absorb God. I'm not opposed to having a list of things to pray for, but to be honest, I don't like lists, because what I have observed is when there's a list, nobody absorbs God. They just go down a list. Wouldn't it be wonderful, even in our corporate time together, before we deal with things, events, and activities, just spend a little time to absorb God and make sure that God has gotten into us with his thought and with his feeling and with his will and with his burden, at least a little time. Of course, we should do it before we come to the corporate meeting. And then we need to practice this very much in our personal life. The meaning of prayer is to absorb God. The more we contact God, the more we will absorb him. And the more we absorb him, the more we will enjoy him as our light and our salvation. That's a urgent present need in the Lord's recovery, is to have this kind of prayer. This is based very much on Psalm 27. David was such a person. And one thing have I asked from Jehovah, that do I seek, to dwell in the house of Jehovah all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of Jehovah and to inquire in his temple. That's a person who prays to absorb God. He begins in Psalm 27:1 by saying, Jehovah is my light and salvation. And this shows us, brothers and sisters, that God's being our light and salvation show that God himself is what we need. God does not give us light as something apart from himself. He does not give salvation to us apart from himself. No, he is our light and salvation. We simply absorb it. When we absorb him, we absorb light. We absorb salvation. So what God gives us is himself. Light is God, salvation is God, power is God, grace is God. Every spiritual need that we have is God himself.